The bell had just rung, ending another brutal day at Lincoln High in the foothills of Colorado. I never planned to snap like that, but when Ryan Caldwell cornered me alone in the locker room after football practice, years of pent-up rage took over. He was the guy everyone feared, the 6'2" quarterback with a reputation for making weaker kids' lives hell, and he had chosen me as his favorite target since sophomore year. Shoving me against the cold metal lockers, he sneered something about my sketches making me a freak, his broad chest heaving from the workout. In a surge of adrenaline I did not know I possessed, I grabbed his wrist, twisted hard using the self-defense moves I had practiced in secret, and flipped our positions. Before either of us could process it, I pinned his arms above his head with one hand and cupped his jaw with the other, crashing my lips against his in a fierce, desperate kiss. Ryan froze completely. His body went rigid against mine, blue eyes wide with pure shock. For 2 or 3 heart-stopping seconds, the world narrowed to the warmth of his mouth and the faint taste of mint from his gum. It was his first kiss. I knew that somehow in my bones, because the school rumor mill had whispered for years that the untouchable Ryan Caldwell never let anyone close enough. Not even the cheerleaders who threw themselves at him. I pulled back just as his brain seemed to reboot, his face flushing deep red. "What the hell, Harper?" he growled, voice hoarse. But there was no immediate punch, no violent shove, just raw confusion. I let go and ran. My sneakers slapped against the tiled floor as I bolted out of the locker room, through the empty hallway, and into the parking lot. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. What had I just done? Ethan Harper, the quiet art kid who kept his head down, had pinned down the most feared bully in school and stolen his first kiss. It was not even a gentle one. It was angry, impulsive, born from too many years of being slammed into lockers, mocked for my drawings, and called every slur the football crowd could invent. But underneath the anger was something darker and more terrifying. I had wanted to kiss Ryan for longer than I cared to admit. The hate and the crush had tangled so tightly inside me that I could no longer separate them. By the time I reached my beat-up Honda Civic, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped the keys twice. I drove home in a haze, the Colorado mountains blurring past the windows. Our house was a modest 2-story on the edge of town, the kind of place where my single mom worked double shifts at the hospital to keep us afloat. She was not home yet, which was a mercy. I locked myself in my room, slid down the door, and pressed my fingers to my lips. They still tingled. Ryan's face kept flashing in my mind, that split-second vulnerability before the anger returned. What if he told everyone? What if he came after me tomorrow with the entire team? I had just handed the king of the school the perfect weapon to destroy me completely. Across town in the sprawling Caldwell mansion, Ryan sat on the edge of his king-sized bed, staring at nothing. The house was quiet except for the distant hum of the air conditioning. His father was still at the law firm, his mother at some charity event. He touched his mouth absently, the memory of Ethan's unexpected strength and the sudden press of lips replaying on a loop. Ryan had spent years building walls, using his size and status to keep everyone at a distance, especially after the things his father drilled into him about being a real man. Kisses were for girls. Weakness was for losers. Yet here he was, heart still racing from a guy he had tormented for fun. "This is messed up," he muttered to the empty room. He stood up, paced, then punched his pillow hard enough to split a seam. But the anger felt hollow. For the first time in years, the bully who feared nothing felt genuinely afraid, not of Ethan, but of the crack that single kiss had opened inside his carefully constructed world. That night I barely slept. Every creak in the house made me jolt upright, convinced Ryan or one of his friends had come to finish what I started. I replayed the moment endlessly, the way Ryan had not immediately fought back, the flicker in his eyes that looked almost like recognition. By morning, dread sat heavy in my stomach like lead. I drove to school telling myself I would keep my head down, avoid the hallways near the gym, and pray the whole thing blew over. But deep down I knew nothing would ever be the same. The next morning at Lincoln High felt like walking into a minefield. I kept my eyes on the linoleum tiles, backpack slung tight over one shoulder, hoping invisibility would protect me. Whispers followed me anyway. No one seemed to know the full story yet, but the energy had shifted. Ryan was not at his usual spot by the senior lockers holding court with the team. When I passed the cafeteria, I caught a glimpse of him leaning against a wall alone, arms crossed, staring into space. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second. He looked away first. No smirk, no shove, just that same haunted confusion from yesterday. By third period, the tension was unbearable. We shared AP English, and when I slid into my seat near the back, Ryan was already there in the row ahead, his massive frame hunched over his notebook. He never took notes. Today he was scribbling furiously. The teacher droned about symbolism in The Great Gatsby, but I could not focus. Every time Ryan shifted in his chair, my pulse spiked. When the bell rang, I tried to slip out quickly, but a hand clamped on my shoulder in the hallway. Not hard, just firm enough to stop me. Outside. Now, Ryan said under his breath. His voice was low, almost urgent rather than threatening. I followed him because refusing seemed more dangerous. We ended up behind the science building, where old picnic tables sat unused in the weak winter sun. He rounded on me, running a hand through his dark hair. What the hell was that yesterday, Harper? You think you can just do that and walk away? I lifted my chin, surprised by my own steadiness. You cornered me first. Years of it. Maybe I finally gave you a taste of what it feels like to lose control. The words came out sharper than I intended, but they were honest. Ryan stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time, not as the weak target but as a person who had dared to fight back. You kissed me, he said almost accusingly. Guys don't. I don't. He trailed off, jaw tight. I saw the war in his eyes, the denial battling something deeper. It was my first, he admitted so quietly I almost missed it. The confession hit me harder than any shove ever had. I know, I said. Silence stretched between us. For a moment, the bully facade cracked, revealing the boy underneath who carried the weight of expectations from a father who quoted scripture about manhood and a town that worshipped Friday night lights. Why didn't you hit me? I asked. Ryan looked away toward the mountains. Because it felt, I don't know, different. He stepped closer, towering over me, but there was no aggression this time. Don't tell anyone, ever. Then he walked away, leaving me standing there with my heart in my throat and the terrifying realization that the kiss had not just changed me. It had cracked open Ryan Caldwell too. The rest of the day passed in a fog of stolen glances. No one openly bullied me, which was new, but rumors were starting, the kind that spread in hushed tones near vending machines. Someone thought they saw us behind the building. By lunch, my best friend Mia cornered me in the art room. Ethan, people are saying you and Caldwell had some kind of fight. You okay? I lied and said it was nothing. But inside, the guilt and excitement twisted together. I had stolen something precious from him, and now I was terrified of what it might cost us both. That afternoon after school, Ryan did not show up for practice. The coach was furious. I heard later from a teammate's loud complaint in the hall that Ryan had texted he was sick. I drove home wondering if I had broken the unbreakable king of Lincoln High. Ryan's house felt like a pressure cooker that evening. His father, Mr. Caldwell, a prominent attorney and deacon at the local church, sat at the head of the long oak table, carving roast beef with military precision. How was practice, son? He asked without looking up. Ryan pushed food around his plate, the memory of Ethan's kiss replaying against his will. Fine, he muttered. His mother smiled nervously, sensing the tension. The conversation turned, as it always did, to Ryan's future. College scouts, leadership, becoming the man the family expected. No room for weakness in this world, his father said, eyes sharp. Especially not these days with all the nonsense going around. The unspoken words about those people hung heavy. Ryan felt the familiar knot in his chest tighten. He excused himself early, retreating to his room where he stared at the ceiling, fists clenched. The kiss had awakened questions he had buried since middle school, feelings he had drowned in aggression and football. Meanwhile, at my house, my mom noticed something was off the moment I walked in. She worked long hours but always made time to check on me. Over spaghetti, she asked gently, "Rough day at school?" I wanted to tell her everything, but the words stuck. Coming out was one thing. Admitting I had forced a kiss on the school's biggest bully was another. "Just guy stuff," I said. She squeezed my hand. "You know you can talk to me, right? This town's not always kind to boys who are different." Her quiet support made the guilt worse. I had acted on impulse, and now real lives were tangled in the fallout. The next few days brought more secret encounters. Ryan started finding excuses to be where I was. In the library during study hall, he sat across from me, pretending to read but watching. One afternoon he cornered me again, this time in the empty art supply closet. "I can't stop thinking about it," he confessed, voice rough. "The kiss. You." His admission sent electricity through me. We really talked, for the first time. He admitted the bullying was his way of pushing away feelings he did not understand. I told him how the constant torment had hurt, but also how I had noticed him, the loneliness behind the swagger. We did not kiss again, but the air between us crackled. Each conversation was a risk, a small betrayal of the roles we had played for years. Yet the pressure mounted. Ryan's father scheduled extra conditioning sessions, sensing his son was distracted. At school, the team noticed Ryan's distance. One teammate, Derek, joked loudly about Ryan going soft. The words stung Ryan more than he let on. For me, the moral weight grew. Had I stolen more than a kiss? Had I forced him into a corner where his whole identity was now in question? The line between justice and cruelty blurred every time I saw the conflict in his eyes. The rumors finally exploded the week before homecoming. Someone, probably Derek, claimed to have seen Ryan and me talking too closely near the bleachers. Whispers turned to stares, then to outright hostility. In the hallway, a group of juniors muttered slurs as I passed. One of Ryan's teammates shoulder-checked me hard enough to send my books flying. I picked them up without a word, but the fear was real. Ryan saw it happen from across the hall. For a moment, I thought he would walk away. Instead, he strode over, voice low and dangerous. "Touch him again and you're off the team." The teammate backed off, shocked. Ryan had chosen a side, and the school noticed. That night, Ryan showed up at my house after dark, parking his truck down the block. We sat in my room with the door locked, voices hushed. "This is getting out of control," he said, running hands through his hair. "My dad heard something at church. He's asking questions." The betrayal came from within his own circle. Derek had gone to Mr. Caldwell with suspicions, framing it as concern for the team's captain. Ryan's father had raged privately, demanding Ryan cut ties with anyone who might tarnish the family name. "He doesn't know it was you," Ryan said. "But he's watching me now." The cost was becoming clear. Ryan was risking his scholarship, his father's approval, his entire future identity. I felt the weight of my decision crush me. "I never meant to drag you into this," I whispered. I was angry, hurt, but I could not finish. Ryan reached out, hesitating before his fingers brushed mine. "You woke me up, Ethan. I was drowning in pretending." The moment was tender, a far cry from the violent pinning days earlier. Yet the drama escalated when my mom came home early and saw Ryan's truck. She did not confront me immediately, but the worry in her eyes the next morning spoke volumes. "Be careful who you trust," she said. "This town can be cruel." Social media made it worse. Anonymous posts on the school forum hinted at the quarterback and the art kid. Comments poured in, some supportive, most vicious. Ryan's performance on the field suffered. During Friday's game, he missed easy throws, drawing boos from the stands. Afterward, in the parking lot, his father waited. I watched from a distance as they argued, Mr. Caldwell's gestures sharp and angry. Ryan drove away alone, and I knew the fracture was widening. The breaking point came on a cold November evening. Ryan's father found text messages on his son's phone, not explicit but enough to confirm the rumors. The confrontation was brutal. Mr. Caldwell demanded Ryan end whatever sickness this was, threatening to pull him from the team and send him to a military academy. Ryan stood his ground for the first time, voice shaking but firm. "I'm not sick, Dad. I'm just figuring things out." The words cost him everything. His father slapped him, the sound echoing through the grand house. Ryan left that night with a duffel bag and nowhere to go except the one place he never thought he would run to, my house. My mom answered the door. After a long, tense conversation in the kitchen, she let him stay in the guest room. "One night," she said, but her eyes were kind. That night, Ryan and I sat on the back porch under the stars, wrapped in blankets against the chill. He told me about the slap, the ultimatum, the years of conditioning to hate what he might be. I shared my own fears, the nights I wondered if my feelings made me broken. We did not kiss, but he leaned his head on my shoulder, the toughest guy in school allowing himself to be vulnerable. The decision to run had been his, but the price was steep. Possible loss of college offers, family estrangement, public shame. School the next week was a battlefield. Ryan was suspended from the team pending investigation. I faced daily harassment, notes in my locker, stares in class. A teacher pulled me aside to ask if I was safe. The moral dilemma tore at both of us. Had my impulsive act been justice or cruelty? Ryan had been a bully, but now he was paying for my theft of that kiss with his entire world. We argued one night in my room. "You didn't ask for this," I said. "I forced the moment." He shook his head. "You forced me to see the truth." The bullying was me running from myself. The awakening was painful, filled with tears and quiet confessions. Yet external forces pressed harder. Derek betrayed Ryan further by spreading more details to the coach. My mom worried about losing her job if the hospital board heard rumors. The choices were stark. Hide and survive or stand together and risk everything. Winter break brought a fragile peace. Ryan stayed with us after his father refused to let him come home. We spent long hours talking, walking the snowy trails behind the house, slowly building something real from the wreckage. The kiss that started it all became a symbol, not of theft, but of courage. Ryan came out quietly to a few trusted people, including his mother, who cried but promised to work on acceptance. My mom became his unexpected ally, helping him apply for scholarships that did not depend on his father's connections. The final confrontation happened at the winter formal. Ryan showed up despite the stares, wearing a simple suit, and asked me to dance in front of half the school. Whispers turned to silence, then scattered applause from unexpected allies. It was not a fairy tale ending. Ryan lost his starting spot on the team. His father still refused contact. I faced lingering judgment, but we had both paid the price and chosen each other anyway. The guy everyone feared was now the one who taught me that love sometimes begins in the middle of a fight. Months later, as we sat on the hood of my car watching the mountains at sunset before graduation, Ryan took my hand. "That kiss changed everything," he said softly. "Best thing that ever happened to me." I smiled, but the question lingered in my mind long after. In the end, was stealing the school bully's first kiss the most selfish or the most necessary act of my life?